Welcome to another NEBA Spotlight. Today, I am so happy to present to you Shire. Shire, tell us about you. Tell us about the business.
Thank you. So this is a picture of me and my daughter. We as a family went to Legoland as adults. Interesting experience. But you got to have some of those, right? So as a business, I help businesses stop wasting money on ads, SEO, all of the marketing stuff that doesn't convert, and start reaching people who actually want what they offer. I've spent like the last 12 years or so in marketing. I've owned my business for 6 years now. So woohoo, I made it past the 5 year mark, which I just read something that said that's a bunch of baloney, you know. It doesn't mean anything, but I'm going to take it as it means something. I've done a lot of things in my life. I used to work in a hospital before I did marketing. I worked at a news station in Connecticut. And way back when, now it seems like I got a web design certificate. By the way, a lot of things have changed since then. WordPress is my friend because it's much quicker than hand coding things. As a digital marketing agency, we do most of the stuff that you think about, social media, Google ads, some other ads. I have a whole other presentation I was debating on because no one ever knows about Microsoft advertising. So maybe ask me about that in a one-to-one. If you do B2B, it could certainly help you. And then, of course, SEO, which is turning into a different animal. At this point, we have AI to think about and not just the humans. Plus, the robots that Google, Microsoft, and everybody else uses too. So there's a lot there. But today, one of the things I really focus on, because there are all of those complicated things going on, is, thinking about who someone's audience really is and who they can speak to. And when we talk about that ideal client profile, I try to encourage people to remember they own their own business. They should be working with people that they actually like. It's not just about who's ideal for the business, but what gives you joy in life? Because why own a business if you're miserable all the time? So, in that vein, I'm going to talk about that audience DNA audit that I have, the thing that no one ever knows they need to have, but they really should. And it is about building this precise profile of your ideal customer. So their demographics, their psychology, their behavior, those buying triggers. We actually, in this audit, compile it all into a document and a presentation that you can use. And really, so long as you're willing to answer, I also include in that, you know, if you have specific hobbies that people could identify with, if you like to vacation certain places, if there's anything that stands out about you, that has nothing to do with your work, but has to do with being human, we try to include that too, because think about real differentiators in life. And then, we take into account that visibility and advertising piece and work on your Google ads, your social media, and make that all into a plan that fits with that profile and those emotions and those hooks and really make it something that speaks to everyone. And then the last part of it, the place where a lot of people fail, especially when they do it on their own, is tracking, measuring, and interpreting all of that data that you get. Um, you know, it's great to go by your gut, but honestly, it's usually wrong. You need to see the numbers and where things fall off to be successful. And it's really hard as a business owner to do it yourself because you're always going to have feelings that don't necessarily match the data. So the problem I solve, businesses run ads, they run marketing to the wrong people, not because they have bad product, but because they never clearly defined who that best customer really is. So when you do that, you stop wasting your ad spend, you stop saying things like ads just don't work for me. Um, you know, it helps you with your funnel because, like it or not, people do research, so we have to be able to hit them several times in order to get them to do what we want them to do. The really important part, of course, is messaging. If you don't have the right messaging, it's like you don't exist. Mike says it really well that, you really need to capture the person and tell them how you're different in order to win a client. And then just altogether, that lack of visibility, businesses, when they don't show up, they lose leads, and that means showing up a lot of places. A lot of people I talk to don't know that even if you don't have a physical location people can visit, you can still have a Google business profile and show up in local searches. So how the DNA audience, or sorry, the audience DNA audit works is, we take this through a whole process of who your clients are, both demographics, but also psychographics. Why do they make the decisions they make? Why do they have the behaviors they have? And then we go through to where to find them, platforms, keywords, influencers, trigger events. We think about all that stuff that's hard for you to put together. Of course, if you have a CRM, it makes it a little easier to put some of this stuff together, but it's also sometimes the trigger that makes you go, I really need to be tracking all of this stuff so I can do it better. And then at the end, we tell you how to convert them. What's the right creative format? What's the right platform to be on? How do you match your offers to your funnel stage? I tell people it's kind of like dating. Don't ask people to marry you on the first date. It usually doesn't go over well. You have to have first date, get to know somebody, and go down the path of getting to know someone before you ever want to marry them. And the result of the audit is really to leave you with three concrete, actionable targeting insights that you can implement immediately. Spoiler, sometimes it doesn't have anything to do with me and what I do. Sometimes it's you changing your messaging for networking or me telling you that you should be doing more networking. It's not always put more ads out. I try to be very honest about where things are broken or need to be fixed. Sometimes, some of those insights are you should be tracking things that you're not. And logic versus emotion in marketing. This is a really important thing that we all forget. We just want to say, hey, this is why we're great. But we don't start with hey, why do you need this? And a little warning to that. Don't don't use fear as your weapon, because when you make people really afraid, then it's hard to deliver on fixing that. So you can use the fear to say like, "Hey, are you afraid of this? This is why something is great." But I've seen commercials where they really drive that fear home. And well, that can be a dangerous thing because how do you get people to feel the positive side of it, which ends up at your positive review? So those key takeaways, your audience DNA determines your campaign success. You need to know who you're talking to and be clear about it. And you have to have those emotional hooks to drive the action, or else it's just a miss. And then you need to think that bad results aren't always a bad product. It's just something is misaligned and you need to keep testing. Uh, oh, I'm missing a whole entire slide. That's interesting. Well, I've started a marketing huddle. And that marketing huddle is to talk about all these things, one topic, one tip a week, and we talk about it and what your pain points are. It's on Wednesdays at 2 p.m., and I'd like to see you all there.
Shire, what's a good way to reach you if people want more information?
The best way to reach me is by email because I tend to forget people text me. So it's shire@shirelion.com. And I'm going to drop the marketing huddle link in the chat just so everyone has it.
Well, thank you. We look forward to supporting you and your business here.
Thank you.